Picture this. The year is 1865. The smoke of the Civil War still hangs in the air. Cities lie in ruins. Families are torn apart. And in the South, 4 million people awaken to a new reality. No longer slaves, yet still uncertain what freedom will mean. The 13th Amendment had just been passed, abolishing slavery forever. To the enslaved, it was the breaking of chains, the sound of doors creaking open to a future they had only dreamed of. Hope burned bright. For the first time, fathers and mothers could decide their children's fate. For the first time, families that had been sold apart could seek reunion. For the first time, the impossible seemed possible. But freedom was complicated. Abraham Lincoln, the president who steered the nation toward emancipation, was gone. Murdered just days after victory, his vision of a compassionate Reconstruction died with him. The question remained, would America truly embrace its new citizens, or would it find new ways to keep them in chains? In those early years, something extraordinary happened. Congress created the Freedmen's Bureau, an agency that built schools, offered food, and helped millions transition from slavery to citizenship. Across the South, Black churches rose as centers of community, education, and resistance. Literacy soared. And for the first time in American history, African American men entered politics. Imagine it. Men who had once been property now stood in state houses and even in the halls of Congress. Hiram Revels and Blanche K. Bruce became U.S. senators from Mississippi, a sight many Americans never thought they'd live to see. But power fears change. The ink on the 14th and 15th Amendments, which guaranteed citizenship and voting rights, was barely dry when Southern states pushed back. The so-called Black Codes aimed to keep freedmen tied to plantations through vagrancy laws and debt. And in the darkness of night, terror took shape. Hooded men on horseback, the Ku Klux Klan, used violence, fire, and lynching to send a message. Freedom would come at a cost. Still, Reconstruction pressed forward. Federal troops occupied the South to enforce equality. For a brief moment, democracy seemed reborn. Schools multiplied. Voter turnout among freedmen reached heights unimaginable. It was one of the most radical experiments in American democracy, and one of the most fragile. In 1877, that experiment collapsed. A bitter presidential election led to a compromise. The new president, Rutherford B. Hayes, would withdraw federal troops from the South. Reconstruction was abandoned, and with that withdrawal, the door to progress slammed shut. In its place rose Jim Crow laws, a system of legal segregation. Separate but equal, the courts declared, though nothing about it was equal. Schools, trains, restaurants, neighborhoods, all divided. An entire people pushed once again into the shadows. By the 1890s, the South was drenched in racial terror. Lynchings became spectacles, reminders of the dangers of defying the system. The Supreme Court's decision in Plessy versus Ferguson, 1896, stamped segregation as the law of the land. For African Americans, freedom without equality had become a cruel joke. The promises of 1865 lay buried beneath decades of discrimination. And yet, history is never still. Out of broken promises came unbroken determination. From Jim Crow's oppression grew the seeds of the civil rights movement. Without the failures of Reconstruction, there might never have been a Martin Luther King Jr., a Rosa Parks, or a March on Washington. This is the hidden step so often overlooked, that the struggle from slavery to freedom to segregation to justice is not 4 separate stories, but one continuous battle for the soul of America. From the first crack of the whip to the last cry of protest, the story of slavery and Reconstruction reminds us of both the fragility of freedom and the unstoppable power of those who dare to claim it.